So this one, I think it's California based. It's about some place called, hold on, Market Street in California. So this is the first time I'm hearing about it. If you're in California, you know more about this. Chime in. Let's talk about it. It says Uber threatens to sue San Francisco over Waymo access to Market Street. I guess this is Market Street. It's a nice looking bus. Look at his sandals. Those are not good looking. Uber is threatening to sue San Francisco after Mayor Daniel Lurie announced that Waymo robo-taxis would be given near-exclusive access to Market Street according to records obtained by the Standard. Okay. This ties into what I said earlier in the podcast about deaths by 1,000 cuts when it comes to rideshare. I'm going to assume Market Street is very busy and that Uber and Lyft drivers aren't allowed to drive on there to pick up people. So I'm assuming that passengers have to walk to a pickup location that's away from Market Street in order to be picked up. This probably helps a lot with congestion. I can see how it's confusing for people who don't live there, but for the average person who goes there regularly, who knows they need to go to this area to be picked up, it probably works pretty well. Probably helps traffic flow a lot easier too. What do you think will happen? Especially if this is an area in town where people like to drink. If people have to choose between ordering a Waymo, a self-driving car, or walking to somewhere to get into a car with a human. We already know currently in, what state is that? Arizona, you can get a human driver or a self-driving Waymo into Uber app. And Uber said 50% of the time, I'm not making that up, 50% of the time people pick the self-driving car. And that's when the options are the same. Here, it looks like Waymo is able to pick people up somewhere where human drivers don't have access to. That is going to cut into the earnings of anyone who typically picks up in that area. It's going to cut into your surges, and it's going to be a problem unless you unite with Uber and sue California. Man, it's so weird how sometimes Uber is the problem, and sometimes you need Uber to be the solution when you're a driver. Uber is threatening to sue San Francisco after Mayor Daniel Lurie announced that Waymo robotaxis would be given near-exclusive access to Market Street, according to records obtained by the Standard. The April 10 announcement of the Waymo deal was framed as a way to revitalize the downtown core, which has been slow to recover from the pandemic. Thousands of workers have not returned to office, and Market Street has become a ghost town during the evenings and weekends after being closed to the private vehicles just weeks before the 2020 shutdown. Thousands of workers have not returned to offices. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's a bar area. And Market Street has become a ghost town during the evenings and weekends after being closed to private vehicles just weeks before the 2020 shutdown. So interesting. Okay. But Lurie may have been underestimating how upset Uber, Lyft, the bicyclists, why can't I say this word? The people who ride bikes, the bicyclist community, and Safety Street advocates would be with this decision to hand Waymo the keys to Market Street. Stakeholders were given a heads up less than a day before the deal was announced. Uber officials learned that morning that the mayor's office had quietly worked out an exclusive deal with the robotaxi company to provide rides on the city's historic downtown thoroughfare, which has been restricted to muni buses and streetcars, commercial loading vehicles, and taxis. Wait, hold on. So Uber and Lyft drivers can't go there, but taxis can? Come on. And just now it's a problem? Like this sounds like it has already been a problem. I feel like Uber and Lyft drivers should be allowed. If you're going to allow taxis, you got to allow Uber and Lyft drivers. I'm sorry. A senior vice president of communications and public policy for Uber told Lurie in an April 10 letter that his decision to permit Waymo to operate robotaxis on Market Street while prohibiting Uber drivers was legally unacceptable, economically harmful, and fundamentally unfair. For more than 4 years, Uber has dutifully respected the Market Street restrictions, so we are surprised that there has been no transparency around the rationale for suddenly carving out an exception for one company. You know what the reasoning for this probably is? The rationale? It's probably money. Unless the city reconsiders opening Market Street to Uber, Lyft, and other rideshare companies, she added, Uber will have no choice but to explore legal action alongside the 60,000 drivers who served San Francisco over the past year. Look at Uber calling on the drivers to come and help them out of something that they need the drivers to help them with while taking advantage of them. A spokesperson for the mayor issued a statement saying that the city is exploring options to revitalize downtown. Market Street has the potential to help power a downtown recovery, but there simply aren't enough people going there. While Waymo conducts mapping as permitted under existing law, we'll continue to look at ways to bring people back to market so our incredibly city has an equally incredible downtown. So it looks like this area of downtown is like corporate based. And I don't understand. I'm trying to draw these connections on why the government feels like self-driving cars need access to it, and that would help it become popular again. I'm struggling to see why that frame of thinking wouldn't extend to Uber and Lyft drivers. While the mayor's office did little outreach until just before its announcement, Lurie and staff quickly launched into damage control. The mayor had a conversation with Uber CEO a day after the announcement, according to an email sent by the company, the head of policy. The mayor's policy chief in charge of economic issues Thursday at City Hall, according to calendars obtained through Public Records Act. And so it's interesting. Waymo has a leg up right now on Uber on this street for some reason. And so the government actually gave a reason, right? It says Lurie's team has argued that Waymos were prioritized in part because the vehicles are safer than human drivers. Shots fired. But the mayor and his staff have close ties to Ruth Porat, president and chief investment officer of Alphabet, which owns the robo-taxi company. Officials close to the mayor have argued that Waymo robo-taxis have commercial license plates, which makes the vehicle eligible for operations on Market Street under the 2020 plan. Okay, so this is why taxis can go, but Uber and Lyft drivers can't. Okay, Uber and Lyft are mostly operated by people driving their own cars. However, Uber also partners with taxis, and the company's Uber Black offerings are classified as commercial vehicles. This double standard undermines not only the rule of law, but the city's own credibility and sends troubling messages that City Hall will be in the business of handpicking winners. Ooh, this is getting spicy. Robin Palm, the founder of KidSafe SF, which has opposed reopening Market Street to more cars, said the mayor's office opened a can of worms with his Waymo announcement. Market Street is now used mainly as a public transport hub for buses and streetcars. The Municipal Transportation Agency is facing a severe financial cliff, and it's unclear how increased vehicle traffic to Market Street might affect community ridership. Listen. You can't generate enough money to maintain your services. That has nothing to do with anybody else around. Nothing. So I don't care. I don't really care. We know everybody is focused on downtown recovery, and we want that too. But adding cars back to Market Street is not going to solve our economic problems. It's going to create new problems. If these companies get their way, that could be a real loss for pedestrian safety and public transit support. Listen, if people aren't using your products, and the only way to get them to use your products is to handicap other products, then you don't have a good product. I'm glad I finished reading this article because I get it, and I'm very interested in seeing where this goes. If you're from San Francisco, what do you think about this? Like, where do you sit on this? If you're a driver, is this somewhere where you want access to drive? Do you think it's unfair that because you don't have a business license plate that you can't drive on this street? Are you worried that Waymos are allowed to have access to parts of the city that you're not allowed to have access to part of the city? Are you concerned that the government is making decisions because they believe that self-driving cars are safer than human-driven cars, which is true. Statistically, it's true. So you let me know what your thoughts are on that.